Benjamin Franklin was a very interesting man. He lived a long time ago in the 1700s. He was famous in America and in other countries too. Imagine one person who was good at many different things. That was Benjamin Franklin. First, he was a statesman. This means he was important in politics and government. He helped to create the United States of America. He was one of the people who wrote the Declaration of Independence. This was a very important paper that said America wanted to be free from England. He was also a scientist. He studied nature and how things work. He did experiments with electricity. Maybe you know the story about him and a kite in a storm. He invented things too. One useful invention was the lightning rod. It protects buildings from lightning. Another invention was bifocals, glasses for reading and for seeing far away. Franklin was a writer as well. He wrote books and newspapers. Poor Richard's Almanac was a famous book full of wise sayings. People liked to read what he wrote because it was clever and helpful. He also wrote about his own life in a book called Autobiography. Some people also think of him as a philosopher. He thought a lot about life, good behavior, and how to make society better. He had ideas about how to be a good person and how people should live together. Benjamin Franklin is very important for American history. He helped to make America what it is today. This book will tell you more about his life. We will learn about his childhood, his work, and all the amazing things he did. We will see how he became such a famous and important person in the world. 2. Young Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was born in Boston, a city in America, in 1706. His family was quite big. He had many brothers and sisters. His father, Josiah Franklin, made candles and soap. His mother, Abiah Folger, came from a family who believed in religious freedom. When Benjamin was a child, he liked to be a leader. His father wanted him to become a church minister, but they did not have enough money for long schooling. Benjamin went to school for only 2 years. He loved to read and learned a lot from books. At 12 years old, Benjamin started working for his older brother James. James was a printer. Benjamin learned how to print. James started a newspaper called the New England Courant. Benjamin wanted to write for the newspaper, but his brother did not want him to. So Benjamin wrote letters in secret. He used the name Silence Dogood, pretending to be an old woman. People in Boston liked Mrs. Dogood's letters and talked about them. James did not know it was Benjamin writing them until later. He was not happy when he found out. Benjamin believed in free speech. When his brother was put in jail for writing something bad about the governor, young Benjamin took over the newspaper. He wrote that people must have freedom to think and speak. When he was 17, Benjamin left Boston and went to Philadelphia. He wanted a new life. At first, life in Philadelphia was hard. He worked in different printing shops, but he was not satisfied. Then the governor of Pennsylvania, Sir William Keith, helped him. He promised to help Benjamin start his own newspaper. The governor told him to go to London to buy printing equipment. Benjamin went to London, but the governor's promise was not real. Benjamin had to work as a printer in London to earn money. After some time, Benjamin returned to Philadelphia. He started a common-law marriage with Deborah Reed. They did not have a church wedding, but they lived together as husband and wife. Deborah was a very important person in Benjamin's life. Around this time, Benjamin had a son named William. William's mother is not known, but Benjamin accepted William as his son and raised him with Deborah. Young Franklin was starting his life in Philadelphia, learning and working hard. He was ready for new adventures. 3. Printer and writer. In Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin started his own business as a printer. He worked hard and was very good at his job. In 1729, he became the owner of a newspaper called the Pennsylvania Gazette. This newspaper became very important in Philadelphia and the colonies. Franklin used the Pennsylvania Gazette to share news and his own ideas. He wrote about local problems and new ideas for the city. People respected him because of his work with the newspaper. Franklin also wrote and published a famous book called Poor Richard's Almanac. He wrote it every year for many years. It was full of useful information, like weather forecasts and calendars, but it was most famous for its short, wise sayings. These sayings were about how to live a good and smart life. Many people liked Poor Richard's Almanac because it was easy to understand and very helpful. He used the name Richard Saunders when he wrote the almanac. This was a pen name, a fake name authors sometimes use. People knew that Franklin was really Richard Saunders, but the pen name made it fun. Using pen names was something Franklin did often. Earlier, when he was working for his brother in Boston, he wrote letters to the newspaper using the name Silence Dogood. He liked to write in different voices and pretend to be different people. This helped him share his opinions in a funny and interesting way. Franklin was a smart businessman. He created a printing business that was more than just one shop. He made a network of printing shops in different towns. He helped other printers start their own businesses and become partners with him. This network spread news and ideas across different colonies. It was like the first newspaper chain in America. He wanted to share good ideas and also make money. Besides being a printer and writer, Franklin was also involved in a group called Freemasonry. This was a secret society, and Franklin joined a local group in Philadelphia around 1730. Freemasonry was important in the community, and being a part of it showed that Franklin was becoming a respected person in Philadelphia. He even became a leader in the Freemasons. In 1734, he printed the first book about Freemasonry in America. This shows that printing and writing were not just his job, but also a way for him to be involved in different parts of life in his city and beyond. 4. Public life and science. Benjamin Franklin started to be more involved in the life of his city and the world around him. He was not just a printer anymore. He wanted to help his community. One of the first things he did was to create a group called the Junto. This was a club for people who wanted to learn and improve themselves and their city. They talked about important things and tried to find solutions for problems in Philadelphia. The Junto was very important because it led to many other good things. People in the Junto liked to read, but books were expensive. So Franklin had an idea. He suggested that the members of the Junto should share their books. This was the start of the Library Company of Philadelphia. It was a library where people could pay a small amount of money to use all the books. This was the first library of its kind in America, and it helped many people to learn and read. Franklin also started the first fire company in Philadelphia. It was called the Union Fire Company. Before this, if there was a fire, people did not have a good way to work together to stop it. Franklin's fire company was made up of volunteers who would help to put out fires. This was a big step forward for safety in the city. Besides helping with these groups, Franklin also became more involved in politics. He started his political work in Philadelphia. Later, he went to a big meeting called the Albany Congress. This meeting was with leaders from different colonies. Franklin had a plan for the colonies to work together. It was called the Albany Plan of Union. His plan was to make the colonies stronger, but it was not accepted at that time. It was an early sign of his thinking about how the colonies could be united. At the same time as his public life, Franklin was also very interested in science. He was curious about how things worked. One thing that really interested him was electricity. He did many experiments to learn about it. One famous experiment was with a kite and a key during a storm. He wanted to prove that lightning was electricity. He flew a kite with a metal key attached to the string during a thunderstorm. He saw sparks from the key and showed that lightning and electricity were the same thing. This was a very important discovery. Because of his experiments with electricity, Franklin invented the lightning rod. Before lightning rods, lightning could easily damage houses and buildings. Franklin's lightning rod was a metal pole that you put on top of a building. It would attract the lightning and safely send it into the ground. This invention helped to protect many buildings from fire and damage. Franklin's work in science and his public service made him a very important person. He was not only a successful printer and writer, but also a leader in his community and a famous scientist. He was always looking for ways to improve life for himself and for others. 5. Time in London. Benjamin Franklin traveled to London for the first time in 1757. He went there to speak for Pennsylvania. People in Pennsylvania had problems with the Penn family, who owned the colony. Franklin was like a representative, called a colonial agent. He needed to talk to the British government about these problems. He stayed in London for 5 years. During this time, he tried to explain the American colony's point of view to the British. He wanted the Penn family to have less power and to pay taxes like everyone else. However, he didn't have many friends in the British government, so he was not successful at first. Later, Franklin returned to London again in 1764. This time, things became very important because of the Stamp Act. The British government decided to put a new tax on the American colonies. This tax was on paper items like newspapers and playing cards. The colonists were very angry because they thought this tax was unfair. They believed they should not be taxed without their agreement. Franklin was in London when the Stamp Act was passed in 1765. He tried to stop it, but he couldn't. At first, some people in America were angry with Franklin because they thought he wasn't against the tax. But Franklin quickly understood how much the colonists disliked the Stamp Act. He became a strong voice against the Stamp Act in London. He spoke to the British Parliament in 1766. He explained why the colonists were against the tax. He said that Americans already helped Britain a lot and that they should have a say in taxes. His words were very important, and many people believe he helped to convince the British government to cancel the Stamp Act. This made him a hero in America. London was not just about politics for Franklin. He also enjoyed his social and intellectual life there. He became involved with the Royal Society of Arts, an organization that encouraged new ideas and inventions. He also joined a group of thinkers called the Lunar Society. These were groups where clever people met and talked about science and new ideas. Franklin was always interested in learning and inventing. In London, he worked on a new idea for a better alphabet. He thought the English alphabet had too many letters that were not needed. He created a simpler alphabet with new letters for different sounds. This new alphabet was never really used, but it shows his interest in language and improvement. During his time in London, Franklin also traveled to other parts of Europe. He visited Scotland and Ireland. He liked Scotland very much and made good friends there. He saw that Ireland was a poorer country and worried that the same thing could happen to America if Britain controlled them too much. Franklin's time in London was very important. He learned a lot about British politics and society. He became a strong defender of American rights and a well-known figure in both Britain and America. His experiences in London would later help him when he worked to create a new nation for America. 6. Road to Revolution. Tension was growing between the American colonies and Great Britain. After the Stamp Act problem, things did not get better for long. The British government made new rules and taxes that the colonists did not like. Many colonists felt that they were not treated fairly. They believed they should have more say in decisions that affected them. Benjamin Franklin was in London at this time. He was representing the American colonies and trying to explain their problems to the British government. He became a voice for the American people. He spoke about their worries and tried to find solutions to keep peace. One important event was the Hutchinson Letters affair. Thomas Hutchinson was the governor of Massachusetts, and Andrew Oliver was his lieutenant governor. They wrote letters to people in Britain that were not in favor of the colonists. Franklin got hold of these private letters and sent them to America. When the letters became public, people in America were very angry. They felt betrayed by Hutchinson and Oliver. This event made the relationship between Britain and the colonies even worse. The British government was also angry with Franklin for making these letters public. They saw him as someone who was causing trouble. Slowly, Franklin started to change his ideas about the relationship with Britain. At first, he wanted to find a way for the colonies and Britain to work together. But with each new problem, he began to think that it was becoming impossible. He felt that the British government was not listening to the colonists and did not understand their needs. He started to believe that the colonies might need to become independent. In 1774, things became very difficult for Franklin in London. He was criticized by the British government. He realized that he could not do much more to help the colonies from London. So, in 1775, he returned to America. When Franklin arrived back in America, the situation was very serious. The first battles of the American Revolution had already started. He quickly became involved in the fight for independence. He was chosen to be a delegate in the Second Continental Congress. This was a group of leaders from all the colonies who met to decide what to do next. One of the most important things the Second Continental Congress did was to write the Declaration of Independence. This document said that the American colonies were now independent from Great Britain. Franklin was part of the committee that wrote this important paper. He helped to write the words that declared the birth of a new nation. It was a big step on the road to revolution and the creation of the United States of America. 7. A new nation. After the Declaration of Independence, Benjamin Franklin had a very important job. He went to France to be an ambassador. This means he was like a representative of the new United States in France. His mission was to get France to help America in the war against Great Britain. When Franklin arrived in France, he was already famous. People in France knew about his science and his writings. They saw him as a symbol of the new, exciting country of America. Franklin was very popular in French society. He was clever and charming, and he knew how to talk to important people. One of Franklin's biggest successes in France was making an alliance with the French government. France was a powerful country, and their help was very important for America to win the war. The French agreed to give money, soldiers, and ships to support the American fight for independence. This Franco-American alliance was a turning point in the war. It showed that other countries believed in the American cause and were willing to help. After many years of war, it was time to talk about peace. Franklin was part of the group of Americans who went to Paris to negotiate a treaty with Great Britain. This treaty was called the Treaty of Paris. Franklin and the other negotiators worked hard to get the best possible deal for the United States. In 1783, they signed the Treaty of Paris, which officially ended the war and recognized the United States as a free and independent nation. This was a huge achievement for Franklin and for America. After the Treaty of Paris, Franklin returned to America. He was seen as a hero. People were grateful for his work in France and for helping to create a new nation. But his work was not finished. Soon after his return, leaders in America decided they needed a new plan for government. They called a meeting, the Constitutional Convention, to write a new constitution. Franklin, even though he was old and not feeling very well, was asked to be a delegate from Pennsylvania. At the Constitutional Convention, Franklin was one of the oldest and most respected members. He did not talk very much in the debates, but his presence was important. He helped to bring people together and find compromises when they disagreed. He believed in the importance of creating a strong and united country. After the Constitution was written, Franklin became president of Pennsylvania. This was like being the governor of the state. He was in this role for 3 years. Even in his old age, Franklin continued to serve his country and his state. He was a symbol of wisdom and experience for the new nation. His time as president of Pennsylvania was his last big public job. He had helped to create a new nation, and now he helped to lead it in its early years. 8. Last years and legacy. In his last years, Benjamin Franklin thought more about important questions like slavery. At first, he owned slaves and even wrote ads to sell them in his newspaper. But later, his ideas changed. He started to believe that slavery was wrong. He became a strong supporter of ending slavery. He worked with a group called the Pennsylvania Abolition Society. This group helped people who were slaves to become free. Franklin was not very healthy in his last years. He had problems with his weight and gout, a painful illness. He died at home in Philadelphia in 1790 at the age of 84. Many people, about 20,000, came to his funeral to say goodbye. People in France also remembered him and had special events to honor him. Benjamin Franklin is remembered as a very important person in America and the world. People call him one of the founding fathers of the United States. This is because he helped to create the country. He signed important papers like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. He was also a scientist and inventor. He studied electricity and invented things like the lightning rod and bifocals, glasses for seeing both near and far. He never asked for money for his inventions because he wanted everyone to use them. Franklin's ideas and values are still important in America today. He believed in hard work, learning, and helping others. He showed that one person can do many different things and be successful. He left money to the cities of Boston and Philadelphia to help young people learn. You can still see Benjamin Franklin's face today. It is on the $100 bill. Many places are named after him, like towns, schools, and companies. His life story and his many achievements continue to inspire people all over the world. He is remembered as a great thinker, a clever inventor, and a man who always tried to make the world better.
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.